Yo, 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 what's going on? What's going on, good people? It's your homie, the HerbMan, back in the building, man. Hey, look, man, we got technical difficulties, man. They don't want this information out, but we're going to try to get it out anyway. So without further ado, man, we want to stay into the subject matter. We're talking about female reproductive disorders and how we're able to restore the woman back to a full health. And we're talking about all women here because we know that all women are dealing with a lot of these issues. And so one thing that can help one can help the other. And so there's no discrimination on this particular information. Now let me share my screen, man, and let's dive right into this. You guys let me know if you can see it or not. Can you guys see that? All right, so what we're talking about today is the female reproductive disorders, okay? And, there's a lot of information that goes on about these particular disorders. A lot of us don't understand and don't know why we may be experiencing some of these particular disorders, especially I know that there's a heightened sense of emergency when it comes to not only just the white race, but also to the black race, and not trying to get racial, but, birthing children and generational things of that nature are always going to be important to the human race. So the health of the female, the health of the woman is especially important in that particular factor, amongst many other things of her existence being here. There's a scientific study that tells you that when you have more women to men ratio, then you have a greater chance of continuing that particular species. Okay? And so the female health is important to the continuance of the human species, of the human race itself. And they are dealing with a lot of particular things that can be cured. And a lot of these things are based on simple things that are curable, but also avoidable in our everyday existence. When we're talking about, dieting and things of that nature that we can do. Now, some things we cannot do, but we're going to get into how we're going to be able to restore the woman's health. Now, the first question you may be asking is, what are female reproductive disorders? Now, if you're a man, you may not ever know, but a woman who has experienced one or two or even a few of these understand what these are. Now, disorders are those things that are associated, okay, with the female reproductive organ. We're talking about organs that are like the fallopian tubes, okay, the ovaries, the uterus and the womb. We're talking about the vulva, the mammary glands, the vagina, and the breast. Now, as you can see here, if you guys can see my little thing here, these are your fallopian tubes here. And they are a pair of tubes that are connections between the two ovaries and the uterus, okay? And these are your ovaries here, these little white things here, these little white balls that are right at the end of the fallopian tube, okay? And basically, the fallopian tube connects the ovaries and the uterus, as you can see right there. And the ovaries are a pair of almond-sized glands located in the pelvic area. And basically, it releases an egg every month for fertilization. Now, you guys know all of that. Now, the uterus and the womb, okay? We're talking about right in here in this area here. This is the womb area. This is where life all begins at, right in here, okay? And this is a muscular. You can see all that red portion right there that will tell you that's the muscular area, okay? And it's a muscular organ. It is also located in the pelvic area, superior right up to the bladder. Now, the egg gets fertilized in the fallopian tubes and develop here in the uterus, okay? And this also provides nourishment in the developing of the baby. These four walls is where this baby gets all of the nourishment, and the development begins here. Okay, now you have the vulva. Now, I didn't want to put the vulva up here because I didn't want to get too explicit. I would love for you to be able to show your kids this particular video and allow them to know about female reproductive disorder. So I didn't do the vulva, but it is the external part of the vagina and the opening of the urethra. That is what we call the vulva. So it'll be the outside of this right here, just basically outside of the vagina. Okay. Now we're talking about mammary glands. Then we're over here to the breast. Okay. Mammary glands are these little loops right here that you see in these little pockets. Okay. Those are your mammary glands. Now what happens with cancer are right in between your loops here is little fat tissues. And cancer gets into these fat tissues. And if you see over here in this particular illustration, you have more fat tissues than you got these little loops of mammary glands. So if cancer gets in there, it can spread very quickly, okay? Very quickly because of those fat glands. Now, the mammary glands are your milk-producing glands, okay? They are your milk-producing glands. Now, next you got the vagina, which everybody should know about. It's one of the major parts of your reproductive organs as a female, okay? And it's basically the usage of muscles that are very elastic, and they serve as a passageway for the baby coming out, as well as, sexual intercourse, okay? And then again, like I said, we're talking about your breast here, and that is a muscular organ present in pairs located in the chest of the female. Now, I'm pretty sure all you guys are like, well, why he had to explain all of that? Because you never know, okay? Now, what do these female reproductive organs help you with? I mean, they're there. We know that most of us just know them for childbirth and things of that nature, but they are very good for other things. Now, the female reproductive organs help in menstrual cycle, intercourse, pregnancy, lactation, and the development of a baby. So it has the organs have a lot of different usages that are very vital, again, to the female, but also very vital to the human race here, okay? Now, if anything goes wrong with these prospective parts there, and I probably spelled respective wrong, but anything goes wrong with these particular parts, they are considered disorders, okay? If anything goes wrong with any one of these particular body parts, then you have a disorder. And that's how you're able to know if you're dealing with a disorder. Now, what do these disorders look like? They come in various ways, okay? So what are some of the issues we find when you're dealing with some of these female reproductive disorders? Well, you have certain things, and this is not all of them by no means. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot more things that women deal with due to a hormonal imbalance and menstrual situations, okay? But this is just a few that I wanted to put up and kind of give you guys a little bit of understanding of each one and what happens, and then kind of what you can do and solutions and herbs and things of that nature that may be associated with some of these particular conditions. Now, the first one we have here is anorgasmia, okay, is anorgasmia. Now, with anorgasmia, this is when a person fails to reach the climax. And so there are three different levels to this. I kind of want to explain this very good. There are three different anorgasmias, okay? Now, when a person has never, ever in their life experienced an orgasm, then you would be the primary individual that we would call primary anorgasmia. If you're one of those women who maybe experience orgasms, but you don't have a long period of time with one. Let's say it comes in spurt and it don't last that long. It's kind of like a more of a spit instead of a you know, that real exhale. So if it's one of those where it kind of spurts out and never really gives you that full exhalation, then that is called secondary anorgasmia. Okay. And if you're one of those individuals who do have orgasms, but maybe only have them in certain circumstances. What I mean by that is the mood has to be right. It has to be some special type of thing that was done or said or did or whatever it took to get you there. But you can have them, but you normally only have them in certain situations. Then you are what we call situational and orgasmic. Okay. But nonetheless, you're still considered anorgasmia. And there's not a whole lot of herbs out there for anorgasmia, because this is more of it's more medically termed as a disease of the brain, so to speak. It's more mental, okay? More one of those mental things. When a woman is having trepidations, okay, of getting pregnant or contracting a STD, this can cause somebody to have, you know, this anorgasmia, because you're so cautioned that your body is still contracted in a certain way, and that can prevent you from having a full ongoing orgasm. So remember those types of things, and because of that, it's more mental. And so you want to kind of get your mind into a good space. But if you want to have something to help you with the desire of having sexual intercourse or something like that, then we're going to recommend yohimbe. Okay, yohimbe is a very good herb to enhance sexual desire in males and females for that particular regards. Now, next you have something called difficult menses, and difficult menses is pretty much painful menses is when you're having really bad pain during your menstrual cycle, and this is also known as dysmenorrhea. Okay, and this could get very bad. It can get very painful, of course, and I'm telling you, I know that, you know, you as a man, you definitely don't want to be dealing with, you know, things of this nature. We think we can't handle pregnancy, but there's some other things that we can't handle that females do go through. But there are some herbs that are out there that can kind of subside some of these particular pains that are happening. And pretty much what happens is when you're dealing with difficult menses, is that there is it's kind of an astringent thing going on with your blood vessels that are pumping blood to your uterus. And what happens is it begins to thin those blood vessels. And so you're starting to have more of a blockage to the uterus. And so what you're going to need are herbs that can, you know, open up the vessels and get the blood flowing back to the uterus. And the more you can do that, the less you'll begin to start having pains in your menses. But it's just because of your blood vessels are constricting there. So you want to try things like chamomile, vitex, raspberry leaf, motherwort, peppermint, skullcap, mugwort, ginger, lovage, or wild thyme. Okay, and sometimes all those together could work. But again, do your research and make sure you're dealing with the proper herb for your particular issue. Okay, but all of those are really good for, you know, helping out with the menses and especially the pain and all of that type of stuff. You're going to see here that raspberry leaf is going to be pretty much on every one of these, motherwort and things of that nature. Those are pretty much your go-to. Raspberry leaf, I would encourage every woman to begin to start drinking, no matter where you're at in age. Raspberry leaf is good for everything dealing with the menses and the menstrual cycle, the hormone balance. I mean, just everything dealing with a female. I would just say the two herbs I would just say as we go along here to just keep in mind is raspberry leaf and saw palmetto. Okay, now moving on to excessive masturbation. Now, excessive masturbation it happens in men and women, and this is just a continual desire of doing masturbation. Now, there is really not a whole bunch here too. This is also a psychological particular thing that goes on here. You will find that when people have this particular issue, they will do it when they have a spouse or when they don't have a spouse. As soon as the spouse, leaves or go to work or whatever, they're on it. And it's just because they have that urge. A lot of people will say that this can be associated with being hereditary. Also, too, this can also be associated with being nymphomaniacs. I mean, if you just really need it that much, you would think that, you need to have it all the time and do it. So one of the things that we encourage for people who are into excessive masturbation is that, one of the drawbacks you probably can do to help yourself here is to masturbate without climaxing. Okay. You start doing that, you'll start finding yourself not wanting to masturbate anymore because you're not doing the climax. A lot of us fall in love with that climax. And so if you can do it without that, that may help out a little bit. But I did provide a few herbs here just to kind of help out with the urges. And so that's Vitex, valerian, and oats. And what the valerian will do is kind of relax you, kind of relieve the anxiety of wanting to have sex or wanting to ejaculate or something like that. And so you want something to relax you a little bit here. So valerian, Vitex, and oats are what we recommend for something like that. But then again, like I said, this is more of a mental thing. Now we also too have women dealing with infertility. Now this is one of the #1 things that all women are wanting to figure out what in the world is going on and why. Okay. And there are some women who really don't want to have kids, so they probably don't care. But for the most of us, this is the big done data here. Now this is a thing that happens in, again, male or female, and is when a male is not able to beget or a female fails to conceive. This is a result of infertility, and it could be unexplained. It could be just two people together and just never been able to have a baby. It doesn't necessarily have to be a reason for it. But again, you want to find out everything you can find out. You want to make sure you get all the testing done physically that you can get to make sure your levels are up and make sure your testosterone and your estrogen levels are up. Now, when you're dealing with a man, you want to make sure your testosterone is up. When you're dealing with a woman who is trying to conceive, you want to make sure your estrogen is up. You also, too, want to make sure that you got certain vitamins and minerals that you stand up on for a woman. You want to make sure that you are having vitamin K, and you got a lot of iron, and you got a lot of folate acid, and your potassium levels are up, and just everything to do with having that baby and being strong and being able to have the tissues and the muscles and the bones and the blood strong enough for the development of the baby, and not just for your ultimate health as well. Okay, so that's one of those things. So in infertility, we say motherwort, Vitex, and oats are a very good combination to help out with infertility when it comes to the female. When it comes to the male, again, yohimbe and saw palmetto are going to be always two things that can help infertility out in men. Also, too, maca root is another great one for women infertility. And there are a slew of other things. The Indians, they have two particular herbs that we'll kind of go to once we leave this screen that are very good in infertility, and you can find that in the Ayurvedic medicine. Okay, so again, now we're dealing with menopause. So next is menopause. Now, menopause is a natural system which is followed by the end of your menstrual cycle. Okay, it's kind of nowhere around this particular thing, but I do understand that it does give people some difficulties, especially when they're going through hot flashes and things of that nature. Now, most of the time, menopause will happen to or for a woman when she gets into her 40s. Primarily around 45 to 50 is when it happens, and it can stay around around to about 4 or 5 years. So you definitely want to try to make life a lot more comfortable for yourself, especially in that particular time. You want to make sure that your dieting is right. You want to make sure that you are definitely having some type of herbal remedy or therapy that you can definitely go into. And again, food is going to be your number one thing when dealing with menopause. But the herbs that we suggest that you look into for menopause is the combination of motherwort and raspberry leaf. Again, raspberry leaf is a great tea to start drinking as soon as you can get. I would say as soon as the young lady gets on her period, she need to start drinking raspberry leaf. Start drinking the tea. That way you can keep the blood good, keep all of the organs that are associated with the reproductive system in good health. Now, next we're talking about PMS. Okay, and then this is the premenstrual syndrome. And this is not a disease, but it comes before and it goes away after periods. Okay, and because it's so elusive this way, that is a good thing. I know not only for the females, but probably some of us guys. I feel like, Lord have mercy, we appreciate the temporary of the PMS. But again, some people have very bad times dealing with premenstrual syndrome. And so we wanted to give you guys a great essential oil mixture for premenstrual syndrome, as well as an herb. But the essential oils that we give you is a mixture here, and it's grapefruit, ylang ylang, and clary sage. And you can use these with a carrier oil, something like a jojoba or almond oil or coconut oil, something that will be very good for the skin. And you pretty much rub this on your lower back. Do this right at the onset of your PMS, and you should start feeling good relief from that. Now, that's just if you're dealing with your normal PMS. You can get that carrier oil mixture. We're going to put that on our site and have that available for you here probably within the next week here. So we'll have that on our website. You can go to www.leafofvitalessentials.com to pick up that particular mixture for PMS. Now, if you're dealing with really bad PMS, I mean, just simply bad, I mean, it's basically the worst thing you got going on in your menstrual cycle here, then we suggest you look into an herb called manjankini. Okay, manjankini. And this is also a Ayurvedic herb, but it's been known to be very effective when you got bad premenstrual syndromes. Okay. All right. So next is the painful intercourse. All right. A lot of people are dealing with painful intercourse, and this is just an abnormal pain that arises before, after, or during intercourse. Okay, so it's not just one of those things to where it's during. Okay, this could be after or before, and a lot of the reason why is because of maybe dryness in the vaginal area. Maybe you don't have enough lubrication in that particular area that we shown before. And so that dryness can also cause pain. Okay. And so one of the things that you probably want to do is take herbs and promote a diet within your life that will continue to increase the mucus membranes in that particular area. And one of those things you can do again is maca root. You can try raspberry leaf and motherwort are going to be good for the pain in that area or the pain from intercourse. Okay, so again, raspberry leaf is a go-to for that particular situation. Next, we have on the list ovulation pain. There are a lot of people dealing with, PCOS and, ovulation issues that are sustaining them from or abstaining them from being able to conceive. And so ovulation pain is a pain that occurs in the ovulation period. All right. And is a pain that happens when you're trying to release that egg. Okay. And what we suggest you look into for ovulation pain is a herb called pennyroyal. All right. pennyroyal or evening primrose have been known to be very, very good at maintaining ovulation pain. Okay, so if you're dealing with that, look into those particular herbs. All right, now next is the menstrual disorders. Now this could be a slew of different things. Okay, so this is not just just one thing, but we call it a disorder that's associated directly with the menses. So let's say you may have longer menses, or you may have heavy bleeding menses, or things of that nature. Anything associated with your menses, we call a menstrual disorder. All right, so, and that's a whole slew of disorders all capitalized into one. And I could just go a whole video on those things. And I do want to let you guys know that I will be, if you guys need any in-depth information on any of these particular issues, please, please, please reach out to us. We can go deeper and further into these. All of these have their own specific remedies as well, but I'm just giving you an overall understanding of certain things you can take just to get you on your way. But again, you still need to do your research. But for people who have specific issues that really want to know more about a menstrual disorder, you really want to know more about ovulation pain, trust me, there's more to these things, okay? And so you guys need to leave comments. You can get in contact with me at lethal@gmail.com, okay? Also, too, you can just send me a comment. Let me know you're trying to get in contact with me. You can get my phone number, 470-207-3446. We are here for you. Understand that. But understand also, too, that this is just an overview, and there's more in-depth knowledge to all of these. And so I definitely wanted to make that little break there and let you know that. Now, dealing with menstrual disorders, we suggest or recommend you look into Lady's Mantle, Raspberry Leaf, and Shepherd's Purse, okay? These are particularly good for anything dealing with the menses, okay? Then you have next Menses Scanty. Now, this is a situation where you're missing episodes of your menses. When you're supposed to have it, you're not having it. And then, you may have it here, you may not have it there. You're just all over the place with your menstrual cycle. And things that are recommended, herbs that are recommended for that are going to be Vitex, Motherwort, and Yarrow have been seen as in combination to be very good to normalizing your menses. Now, I know for some women, they don't want it normalized. They kind of like the little free time they have. But trust me, when you don't have your periods, you lose a lot, because those things are very, very important to your bodily functions, okay? So you should be having them, and you want to make sure you're having them, and you want to make sure that you're taking things that are conducive to allowing you to have them, but also to that are safe for you as well. Now, next we have repeated miscarriages. Now, this is a very big thing with women who may be having traces of lupus and don't know it, or maybe even dealing with lupus. Then this could be a reason for repeated miscarriages. Also, too, you may can have repeated miscarriages if you can't hold the baby. If you got uterine prolapse or things of that nature, to where it's just very difficult for you to hold the baby, then you would be considered to be one that is a repeated miscarriage. Okay, and some of the things that you can do to help that is not a whole bunch, but we recommend velvet leaf and saw palmetto, okay? And you can do your research on those, but those are the two that we recommend for you to look into if you're having issues in that area. Now, of course, if you got lupus and all of that, if you have some medical conditions that are one of the reasons why you're having repeated miscarriage, then you're going to have to deal with the medical conditions as well. So again, these things go very much more in depth, particularly when you're talking about one specific situations, okay? So don't take these as the holy grail to what you need to do to overcome your situation. If you need more information, the consultations are better than just going out there and experimenting on your body, okay? But again, I would suggest that you do kind of do it like an experimentation. Go through these herbs and see what works for you, what don't. what makes you feel good, what doesn't vibe with you. I would encourage that, you know. But I don't want to do that for you. I would encourage you to do that for yourself. When it comes to me, I'm going to make sure that we give you the right things, and therefore I need the right information. So next we have sexual debility. Okay, and sexual debility is a person that's failing to perform well during sex. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with this person's desire. The desire is there for a person that is dealing with sexual debility. The desire is there, but what happens is the body is just not performing up to task. Now, this is again can be what you can call something mental, but also can be a physical thing, a problem as well. And so we recommend that you try to look into a combination of ginger, all right, and honey, and then do a half of a boiled egg. And I know that may not sound conventional for you, but again, do your research, figure out what you may work for you. But what we suggest is a little ginger juice, a little honey, and half of a boiled egg, and see if your debility starts to increase over time. If not, try some other things. Okay, this is not the holy grail. All right, next up is Leukorrhea. Now, if you guys have been watching our videos, you kind of know what Leukorrhea is by now. If not, Leukorrhea is excessive white discharge that normally happens around the vaginal area. Okay, and you can get this, you know, from various things. A lot of these diseases, or a lot of these disorders, I would say, are associated with diet. You find a lot of these particular issues in people who are stressed out, who are obese, and who are having bad diets, amongst other things. But normally those three are always accompanied for most of these particular disorders. So I just suggest that if you can change those three things, then maybe, you know, you may can fix some other things too. Now, people who are dealing with, like I said, physical situations or pre-medical issues, you know, you got to deal with those things, and you got to just try to make the best of it. But for the most of us, you know, we're trying to prevent these things from happening. And so in order to do that, you want to make sure that you're dieting well, okay? Dieting well. And when I mean diet, I mean opening up the palate, not necessarily limiting yourself. Now, with Leukorrhea, you got raspberry leaf and lady's mantle have been known to be very effective. Now, endometriosis. I know a lot of people are dealing with this. This is when your inner lining of the uterus grows outward in other directions. And it can cause problems, okay? Very, very big problems. It also can cause issues with being able to have or conceive a child. So what we suggest or recommend you do is look into raspberry leaf, yarrow, and vitex combination, okay? And all of these things here, if we say them in combination, obviously you're going to be using all of these as equal parts, and mostly all of these are going to be equal parts. They're all going to be 1 to 2 teaspoons, and they're all going to be to 1 cup of boiling water. And then, you know, you let it do what it do for the most part. Again, you need to consultate me for specific ways to get specific for what you need. Okay. Now, next is uterine cancer. Now, this is a very big one, and I know that there are a lot of people dealing with this. And this is this cancer cells that begins from the uterine lining. Okay, and that uterine lining is a very, very special area that we definitely want to make sure that we are taking herbs to nourish and to tonify that area. So anytime you can get like a uterine tonic, you definitely want to look into something like that, and that'll keep you from these particular uterine issues. But for uterine cancer, we recommend you look into soursop, sweet wormwood, and shepherd's purse. Okay, now you guys have probably heard of soursop being very good for a slew of different cancers, as well as wormwood, because these two things are very good at being antiviral, you know, killing parasites and things of that nature. Pretty much all of these herbs particular attribute, and so that's what you want when you're dealing with cancer. All right, now next here you have uterine prolapse. Okay, now Uterine prolapse is a situation here when the uterus slips from its original place. Okay, and there is two types of uterine prolapse. You got one where you can kind of see the little bulge right there at the bottom of the stomach, and then you got one to where it's almost like it's bulging out of the vagina. All right, so that's the more critical one. And so you got one that pretty much is just slumped down a little, and then you got one that just pushed all the way down out of the vagina. Okay, and so if you're dealing with something like that, we suggest or recommend you look into chaparral, and pretty much you want to use this as a douche. Okay, use chaparral as a douche, and hopefully that can be very effective for your uterine prolapse. All right, next on the list, we're dealing with uterine fibroids. Okay, this is another thing, again, talking about the uterine lining and how precious that is for everything dealing with just the travel of bacteria out in and just that whole in and out process. And so that's why that highway is going to be so important. If it's a dry highway, it's going to cause problems, and sometimes if it's got too much in it, it can cause some problems. And so we just got to make sure that we keep it normalized. And so uterine fibroids is another one of those things that can happen in this area. Now, these particular things are non-cancerous growth of tissues in the uterine lining. So there's nothing to worry about when it comes to it being malignant, but it's still something to worry about if you're trying to conceive or if you're dealing with overall woman's health. Okay, these are not things that you want to have, and these are not things that are normal to a woman's health. And so what we recommend you do is look into yellow dock, vitex, dandelion, nettle, and milk thistle combination. Okay, now if you can't do this in a combination, then maybe one or two of these herbs will do it for you. I would say do your research on these. A lot of these will do some of the same things, so you may not need one or two of these. Okay, and you can still make you a combo with the rest. So figure out what works for you and make it happen. But all of those are going to be effective for uterine fibroids. All right, and so the next one here is Metrorrhagia. Okay, Metrorrhagia. Now Metrorrhagia is abnormal bleeding that happens in the uterus. Okay, and this is other than the menses. Okay, this is not your menstruation. This happens when you're not on your period. So if you're in between your period times, if you're starting to still find yourself bleeding, then it's called Metrorrhagia. Okay, now we recommend you look into herbs like lady's mantle, shepherd's purse, yarrow, and vitex if you're dealing with this particular issue here. Okay, now not handling this issue can also too cause different issues with conceiving and also to your health issue because you're bleeding too much. Okay, so you want to make sure you get treated for all of these particular issues. To be quite honest with you, none of these issues should go without some type of evaluation, even if you're anorgasmic. I know everybody should want to feel the enjoyment of having an orgasm. This, anorgasmia is one of those things that men don't have to deal with. For the most part, this is all to do with a female type of issue, and that's not fair. So, for me, I would say go get it all checked out and make sure that it all works right and works properly. And I'm saying this for the sake of the human race, so to speak, and your health as well. But just highlighting all to do with all the reasons why we should make sure we highlight what we can do to help out here in this particular situation. Now, what are some of the solutions that we got to be looking for with all of these particular disorders? Now, like I said before, all of these particular orders got a lot to do with dieting, and they got a lot to do with obesity and all these different things that really have a lot to do with how you're eating, to be quite honest with you. And so for me, the number one thing that a woman needs to do to rectify and restore her health is that she has to ensure that she is getting the daily value of nutrition. Okay. If you guys do not know what daily value of nutrition you should have, I am going to leave the FDA nutritional chart link in the description after this video. Okay. So you guys can just go read the description, go in there, hit the link, pull up the FDA approved daily value and start following that to the T. So you can start knowing how much vitamin C and how much vitamin D and how much folate acid, how much iron you need, how much calcium you're going to need, how much vitamin E and K, and how much vitamin just how much vitamin A you're going to need, how much vitamin E, and how vitamin E is so conducive to all of these things that we've been talking about thus far. Vitamin P. So you just got to really know that, and I really want to emphasize that. And then when you do that, you need to place emphasis on things like folate, iron, potassium, and vitamin D throughout your life. Throughout your life, you need to be watching your levels in these particular areas, because you are a female, you will continue to go through hormonal imbalances, because first you start with a period, then you go into your menopausal times. All of these years will affect your hormonal imbalance. All of these years. And so while you're going through these from 13 to 50 or 55, or however long it's going to end, that is almost a 40-year span of hormonal imbalance, and also too dealing with everything to do with what happens when you can have a baby, and all of these types of things that happen inside of a female's body. And so we just want to say that you're going to have to be dealing with that for that long, then you're going to have to be paying attention to your vitamins and your minerals throughout life. And so that's why we tell you to make sure you're dieting right. If you are on vegetarian diet, sometimes it's very hard for vegetarian people. They have such a limited diet. You need certain nutritions to be able to conceive and to have certain vitamins for conception. Okay, so if you're trying to conceive, you want to open up your diet a little bit if you're a vegetarian out there. Okay, and I just want to make that clear. If you are somebody who is obese, okay, you want to lose a little bit of weight so that you can be in the right parameters and have the right things working within your body to be conducive to the development of a baby. For women who are drinking coffee all day, every day long, that's not going to help the cause. So if you're drinking more than 1 cup of coffee a day, you're doing more harm to yourself if you're trying to have or conceive a baby, if you are a female. Even for men, if you're drinking coffee every day and you're drinking alcohol too, then you're going to have issues as a man trying to have a baby. Okay, so these are some of the things you need to know to keep an eye on. Okay, now when it comes to herbal therapies, there is so many different things that you guys just seen. I just gave you some herbs from the last slide, and then here it is. Here goes some more stuff. That's because there's so many different herbs for this particular issue. I wanted to make this video not to give you guys remedies, but to give you guys hope that you do not have to be dealing with any of the things that you're dealing with as a female when it comes to your hormones and when it comes to the things that are happening due to your menstrual cycle, a period, whether it be before your menstrual or after your menstrual, whether that be puberty or whether that be menopause. There are things that we can happen to, things that you can do to make sure you have a smooth sailing for those 40 to 50 odd years of going through all of this hormonal imbalances. Okay, now some of the things here you definitely want to do your research on, because some of this stuff you may can't find it, some of the stuff you may can, but some of this stuff too is going to be, you got to know you're able to take it. You can't take certain things if you got high blood pressure, if you're dealing with some pre-existing conditions. You may need to really be careful with some of these combinations. But everything you see in parentheses here, black cohosh, blue cohosh, passion flower, sarsaparilla, and white pond lily. These herbs are very good for anything dealing with the menstrual disorders, okay, the menses, anything dealing with the menses, okay, that was all of the menstrual disorders, long time, short time, scanty, heavy bleeding and all that type of stuff there. That is going to be it, but you still need to do your research because you might have heavy bleeding, but if you got high blood pressure, then you can't take black cohosh or blue cohosh. See what I'm saying? That's why you need consultation, people. Now, go to the next one. You got parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Yes, those kitchen things do work, and they do work for things dealing with your menses and hormonal imbalance. Now, these particular herbs help with both. They help with menses and they help a little bit with the hormonal balance. So you have a little duality with these particular combination right there. Now, that's something that you may have in your kitchen. I would suggest you go out and try to get the freshest and the best of these instead of trying to use your kitchen stuff. But again, you probably would know these because of what you have on your kitchen counter. So do your research on that. Again, those will be equal parts parsley, equal parts sage, rosemary, thyme. Hey, and have at it and see how it treats you and how things go. If it makes you feel good and feel better, stay with the program. You don't got to change that. But if it don't, then swap it out and do other things, because when you got your mineral value daily chart, and then when you got these particular herbs and you're doing your research, you'll know what vitamin and minerals these particular herbs carry. You also know how beneficial they are to you in that particular way. Now, you see pennyroyal there. Pennyroyal, again, is going to be good for ovulation pain just by itself, okay? Now, the next combination here is a lot of herbs. I think you got about 10 herbs in this particular remedy here. And this consists of Damiana, Dongquai, elderberry, false unicorn, Indian tobacco, Korean ginseng, sarsaparilla, saw palmetto, Indian sarsaparilla, which is different from the regular sarsaparilla, wood betony, and yohimbe. And I just did a video on wood betony the other day. Now, this is going to be another one of those double whammies. This is going to be good for hormonal imbalance and the menses, okay? But again, you want to do the research and you want to kind of see what works for you. See if this combination is good, if it makes you feel good. If it don't, swap out certain things for other certain things and make it work for yourself. But Damiana, Dongquai, elderberry, all that stuff is going to be good for hormonal imbalance. False unicorn root, all of that stuff will be good for most of those things that you've seen on the list. When you rewind it back, you're going to see that false unicorn root is going to be good for a lot of issues that you may have. A lot of your pain issues and ovarian issues and things of that nature. False unicorn root is going to be good for that. Indian sarsaparilla, a lot of your libido. If you got issues with the libido, then yohimbe is going to be good for that. You got anything dealing with just your blood and just the overall health of an individual, well, the woman, then you're talking about saw palmetto, Korean ginseng is going to be also too for a little libido, Indian tobacco, and all these things are going to be very good for sustaining the woman's health, okay? Now, after that, you have raspberry leaf. Again, I put that there just to let you know that that is also conducive to overall women's health, just that by itself. Also, too, you can look into rue and cat's claw, okay? Those are going to be good for, ovarian things and menstrual disorders and things of that nature. And then I give you one more particular remedy. You got Vitex acnes castus, which is called Vitex, motherwort, and raspberry leaves. Now, that is also going to be good for restoring the woman's health. Now, under here, you see, I wanted to give you this because I'm not trying to hoard anything. I want to put out all good information. And so, again, I was talking to you about the Ayurvedic medicine that is especially good for infertility. All right. So if you're dealing especially with infertility, unexplained, and you don't really know why, you don't really have any condition that you know you're dealing with, I would suggest you look into, especially for women, Shatavari. Okay. Shatavari, you definitely want to look into that. Also, too, you want to look into the seeds. Infertility and seeds kind of go hand in hand. All right. So look into things like Shivlingi. All right, Shivlingi, and you want to do Putra Jivak. Putra Jivak. Okay, and look into those things and see what good they can do for you. Again, they're all going to be good for infertility. Now, some of the other things here that is a solution, and this is just for what we recommend as an overall sex health formula. And this is one of the big dundadas for, just all of that stuff that we just talked about in a nutshell. I would just say, go get you some dried herbs, a velvet bean, get you 10 grams, get you 10 grams of Indian spider plant, 3 grams of black muesli, 10 grams of Indian gooseberry, get you 10 grams of land caltrops, and 10 grams of fresh nutmeg. And that will keep you from a lot of these issues. Now, this is going to be preventative medicine. Okay. The other things are treatments and remedies to situations that you're dealing with that you currently have. If you don't want to go that route at all, these are the things that we suggest you keep into your medicinal cabinets to make sure that you don't run into those disorders. Okay. And two, even if you do start having, let's say, well, I don't necessarily think you'll start having anything if you start out with this stuff. I don't think that you're going to have any, scanty menses. I don't think that you're going to have any, ovulation pain. You shouldn't be dealing with infertility issues unless they're, something medically that you just can't avoid. But outside of that, these should be good for your fallopian tubes. These should be good for the uterus. This should be good for your ovaries. And this should be good for, the development of the baby, the lactation, the breast. All of these herbs should be very, very good for these particular reproductive organs of the female. Okay. So you guys got that. All right. Now, the next thing is raise awareness, man. And so that's what we're doing here. We are raising awareness. Okay. And that's one of the biggest things of women's health that has to happen. We got to stop trying to hoard this information, and we got to stop trying to hoard the cures and the remedies, and we got to stop trying to make a buck, man. I mean, look, there are what? I don't know, a couple billion people in the earth. Okay. Let's just say over half of that are females. So then if it's 7 billion people in the earth, let's just say 4 billion of them are female. Man, if you can charge them $5, man, you still gonna be all right. So you don't have to hoard, man. What is good is going to prove itself to be great at the end of the day, and that ain't something that you got to try to get. I'm in it for the long haul. So you guys need to understand that this is herbal education at its finest. I'm not trying to throw all the products in your face and give you some Wolfman dream that I done went somewhere across the earth and found something. But what I did do was I went where the internet could take me, and that could take me anywhere. And so I've been going to the far corners of the earth when it comes to information, and been able to just comprise it for my people and put it out here for the benefit and the uplifting and for the edification of my people that want to listen and be healthy and be wealthy. So one part of changing woman's health and restoring the woman's health is raising awareness to how important whole health is, not just to her as a woman, but also to the advancement of the human race. And so I appreciate all of you guys for staying with me this long. and continue to chime in and continue to be a friend to the station. Get the word out, man. This is one of the best videos I was able to make. So I appreciate all of you guys for the love and support, man. And if you guys are not friends to the station, please hit that subscription button and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of the daily herb of the day videos, as well as all of the other content that we put out for our people. All right, man. So, like, again, if you guys got any questions, any concerns, any comments about what you've heard on this particular station, remember, you can get at me at lethal-violet-essentials@gmail.com. Okay. Also, too, you can call me at 470-207-3446. And I'm also, too, going to leave my WhatsApp number there for anybody that's across the world that want to get in contact with me for consultations. Again, my consultations are $30 an hour, but we're going to be trying to ensure that we're able to answer all you guys' questions. So we may have some discounts there for people who have just one or two questions that just want to know one or two things, okay? But again, leave me your information down there. We'll get in contact with you. Share the information out there to as many people as possible, especially any women dealing with any of the disorders that we have discussed here on the channel. And again, remember, I am not a doctor, nor am I a physician, so please consult your physician before utilizing any of the herbs you've seen here on Lethal Violet Essentials channel. And for that, we say here in Lethal Violet Essentials world, research everything you put into your body. Now, this has been an episode of Lethal Violet Essentials with your boy HerbMan. I appreciate all of you guys. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Until next time. Peace. Yes, sir.